Okay, so now that we've reviewed the different action steps that you could take on the behaviors that you rated yourself lower on in the next level self-assessment, let's talk about your next steps. Here's the big thing to remember: less is more. You might have 4 or 5 or even 6 or 7 different leadership behaviors that you think you could master to be a more effective leader. My encouragement for you is limited to no more than 2 particular behaviors that you're going to focus on now, because it's much better to go deep rather than broad on those leadership behaviors. You'll get a lot more traction and a lot more lift in a meaningful way by focusing on just a couple of leadership behaviors instead of 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. So how do you do that? Identify from the action step ideas that we presented in this self-assessment, or action step ideas that you get from your colleagues. Identify a few action steps, maybe 2 or 3 action steps for each of the 1 or 2 behaviors that you want to implement on a regular basis. Remember, it goes back to that Aristotle idea about we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act but a habit. Your job now is to build some new habits that will help you be more effective leaders. And the way you want to do that is focus in. Again, I said you could get some ideas from your colleagues. If some of the ideas that we presented here aren't exactly on target for you, go out and ask some trusted colleagues and tell them what you're working on in terms of the leadership behavior you're trying to change. Like, let's say it's listening. And tell them you're working on being a better listener. Ask them this question: what are your 1 or 2 best ideas for anyone who's working on being a better listener? And you want to ask it in that third person kind of way. What's your best idea for anyone who's working on being a better listener? Because if you say, what could I do to be a better listener? They're probably not going to give you much because they don't want to confront. So make it easy for them to give you some good, actionable ideas. 1 or 2 ideas that you could implement on a regular basis to be a better listener. Tell them what you're working on. I'm going to work on not interrupting people, for example. And then repeat and groove that behavior of not interrupting people. Recruit your colleagues to help you see when you're interrupting in this example. And pretty soon, you're going to be a lot better at that. It may not come immediately, but it will come. If you get 5% better a week, for instance, at listening, 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but 5% a week, repeated week after week, in a month, you're 20% better as a listener. And that's a pretty big improvement. The great UCLA basketball coach, John Wooden, once said that little steps taken every day eventually lead to big things. And that's the great opportunity for you, is to take those little steps that help you get better and better and better. Lots of great ideas to do that in this self-assessment. I hope that's the case for you. Go out, collect those ideas from your colleagues to get even more ideas on how to be better, and then chunk it up into small bites. And like they say on the back of the shampoo bottle, rinse and repeat. You know, you sell twice as much shampoo that way, and you get a lot better as a leader by taking it day by day, bit by bit, little by little. You will eventually get to a great and bigger place.